Had another potentially good score at the curb here. Got a Kawasaki KGT27C string trimmer. Don't know anything about it other than it was at the curb. This is a commercial trimmer. It does appear to have all of its pieces. Just quick visual inspection, looks pretty faded, so I'm guessing it was left outside. There's some rust in the muffler, which is not really that unusual. I did notice that the primer on the carburetor is gone, so I'm assuming that's probably why it's at the curb. Whoever had it didn't really feel like putting any money into it. It's probably an older unit in reality. It's a KGT27C-A2 made in Japan, so probably an older one. Maybe, I don't know, early 2000s, late 90s, I don't know, what do you think? So, can virtually guarantee this thing is going to have carburetor issues, so let's start there. We'll start by taking the air cleaner housing off. Hopefully it has an air cleaner in it. I did check, the motor has very good compression. Arguably better than any of my much newer machines. Leave it to Kawasaki. They don't make these anymore. Kawasaki got out of the handheld market a while ago. So we did have an air cleaner, which is good. Let's take this cover off with a Phillips head screwdriver and see what we're dealing with. This looks like an older Walbro carb. Get you guys some light. Just jumping right in today. I did order a carburetor kit for this thing already. Just done this enough times, I know what to expect. I do stock the primer bulbs, or purge bulbs, already, so no need to worry about that. Haven't seen one of these Walbro carbs in a while. Looks like a WYA series, but I could be mistaken. The fuel lines feel rock hard. The other thing you got to worry about with these is they make the fuel tank grommets because they usually get hard just as fast as the fuel lines do. Hoping maybe I can work this out so we don't need one. Whew, man, that's rock solid. That fuel line is so hard that that spring clamp did absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think the line's just going to come apart. Yeah, pretty much. Alright, so here's our carburetor here. Like I said, looks like an older Walbro. I think it's a WYA series, but won't know until I get into it. So let me throw this in the ultrasonic cleaner just as is to clean up some of the crud on the outside, then we'll take a closer look at it. Looks like it is indeed a Walbro WYA. You can tell. So under there it says Walbro. I know it's hard to see. And over here, actually here it says Walbro, over here it says WYA. So thank goodness I ordered the right kit. Let's take these 4 screws off the bottom here. Because these are going to have to come off anyway to replace our primer / purge bulb. The rebuild kit I ordered, I think, came with a gasket, diaphragm kit. I don't think it came with a purge bulb, ironically. They typically don't include those. I have no idea why. Because they're usually the first part to go bad. That's just the way Walbro is, though. I'm trying not to mess with this gasket down here because I don't want to break it, because I think it's like a $10 gasket by itself. Okay, so that's off. There's the remnants of our purge bulb right there. Don't see any other fasteners. Normally these things come right apart. It's kind of unusual. Oh, there we go. Oh, wow, that's disgusting. I should have put on a glove. Wow. Horrible. So whatever that is, it's been in there for years. I can tell by the smell. This carb's gonna be fun. Does not want to come apart. That's pretty unusual. Don't see any other fasteners. There we go. Just need to be coerced a bit. Ugh, vile. That is friggin' disgusting. Blot that up and get it out of here as soon as possible. Smells like a combination of like turpentine and ugh. There's a couple of screws up here that hold this piece on. It's important to take this off too. Looks like we have to back off this idle screw to be able to get that other screw out. There we go. Bad boys are tight. Take note of the orientation of how sometimes these go in both ways, like flip this 180 degrees. So I'm just gonna make a mental note or a video note of where this red thing is here in relation to the inlet side. All right, so that's it. This carb is stripped down just about as far as I'm gonna take it. We'll let it soak in the ultrasonic and hopefully loosen some of this crud up. Okay, we got our carburetor kit. Got the carburetor all cleaned up, dried off, came out pretty nice. One thing you want to do is make sure you pop out this jet. You can just shoot some compressed air down through that plastic hole all the way down there and it should come flying out. Just make sure it doesn't fly across the shop. And here are the parts for our kit. This kit, I believe, is a K20 something, K20WYA. I'll leave a link in the description. And it's important that you pick the right parts because quite often these kits come with different parts and they cover a couple different carbs. This one actually looks like it doesn't, so I think we're okay. Sometimes you just see like two different styles of these that are just very slightly different. All right, so let's start reassembly. Like so. Sometimes they can be a little tricky. We got this piece here. Got that. Got that. Nice thing is these locating dowels kind of keep it from assembling things incorrectly for the most part. So just like that. I had one of these new primer bulbs in stock. So just like that, folks. So let's get our screws started. Now, it's usually cost effective to do these repairs because quite often these carburetors are crazy expensive. I think this one's like 150 bucks. Probably get an aftermarket one or a Chinese clone for, 15, 20 bucks, but who knows how well it's going to run. Sometimes you get lucky with those. It's very hit and miss. So, whenever possible, I prefer to rebuild the original carb. Let's reinstall our throttle assembly here. I like to lubricate this slide or barrel with a little bit of two-stroke oil just so it doesn't bind up. Sometimes that happens. And I think I remember making a mental note that it went in like this. Or was it the other way? Or does it only go in one way? Yeah, I think it was like that, right? Yeah, I think it has to be like that because this piece was pointing outwards. So now we'll just install these two short screws. Things rotate nice and freely, no sticking. All right, let's see. We have, it looks like 2 seals here. I guess there's 2 different sizes. That one's too big. This one's probably going to be just right. Before we do that, let's tackle these fuel lines on the machine because they are pretty rock solid. So let's see if we can fish the fuel filter out of here. I caught something. And it looks like it's broken off and very rusty. Gross. Yeah, that's definitely no good. Let's get this out of here because that just stinks. And I guess we will just pull the other fuel lines through. I don't think there is, some of these grommets have a nipple on there, but this one doesn't seem to. So in theory, I should just be able to pull these out like this. This line just disintegrated. Yeah, and this grommet's no good, unfortunately. That's a shame. See how wobbly it is? Oh boy. That changes things a bit. let's see. I mean, I'm gonna give it a shot. It's probably gonna leak. If it does, we'll have to order a grommet if they still make them. So I got some of my fuel line. This is that pure rubber stuff. I like to cut it in an angle like that. Makes it easier to thread through the grommet. Otherwise, you'll be fighting with it. Still might be fighting with it though. Okay, we're through. And then we got to grab it so that we can put a fuel filter on it. Square off this end here. Let me grab a filter. This one looks good enough. There should be a little clip on here, but I guarantee you that is not coming off unless you want it to, even without the clip. So I'll shove that back in the tank. Actually, we'll pull a little bit more through because that's got too much sticking out here. That'll do it. All right, now we got to do the same for the return line, which is, man, that's rock hard. I don't keep any of that clear stuff in stock. It just doesn't seem to last, so I'm going to use some more of this black stuff, but just a larger diameter. I'm hoping that if we use a larger diameter, it'll expand this grommet a bit and help it seal, but I don't know if it's going to work out that way. Need to throw a little bit of oil on this line, make it a little bit easier to insert. Just using some 2-stroke oil. I know you guys can't see, sorry. All right, we're in. So let's get our air box and our carburetor. Oh, and let me replace this seal before I forget. Should just be able to remove it with a seal pick. And I think we said it was the smaller of the two, right? Beautiful. So that goes on like that. Let's hook up our throttle linkage. Needs to go through here. We'll hook up the fuel lines in a moment. So our bigger line is going to go on the return, and this one's going to go the supply. Let me get you guys moved. You can't see what I'm doing. Hopefully that's better. So this line should go right here. So we'll lop that off. And then our other line, which I believe is the return, goes right next to it. So we'll chop that off too. Being careful not to chop off too much. All right, I think we're good there. Let's throw a little bit of gas in here and see if it flows through. Got some 2-stroke gas. I'm not going to fill it up too much because I'm pretty sure it's going to leak. Let's give it a couple pumps and see if the purge bulb fills. Do I have these lines backwards? Yeah, I think I do. Man, am I embarrassed. Okay, rookie mistake. Got the lines all reversed and fixed up now. And I confirmed that we do have fuel flowing into the carb. I see it coming out the return line. So we should be good to give this thing a test pull and see what happens. Here goes nothing. Put this thing on the ground. All right, let's try that again. Let me put the air cleaner back on too. I can figure out how it went on. I guess like, no. Got to be like this, right? Am I stupid? Is this the right air cleaner? I just put it together wrong. I put this cover in the wrong orientation. Not my day today. So this probably needs to be rotated. Now that is the correct orientation. So that'll be our dirty side out. Yeah, that looks a bit better, don't you think? All right, so we're all primed up. Let's give her a tug and see what happens. Whoa! Sorry about that. All right, I just trimmed an area in my backyard and it ran great, but there was no line would advance. So I took the trimmer head apart and it was just a pile of rust. It was all seized. So I think we're going to take this off. I do have a spare laying around somewhere. We'll see if we can get that to work. So most trimmers have a little slotted area here that you can stick a pin in to keep the head from turning. I got the trimmer in a vise just to hold it, and most of them are reverse threaded. So I got a little strap wrench here, and we'll just give this, there we go. Actually, it wasn't even that tight. Now we should just be able to rotate this thing off. That. And I'll show you what I mean that it's a pile of rust. This looks like an aftermarket trimmer head anyway. Oops. Or perhaps an older Echo. So you can see that bolt in the center just broke right off when I tried to take it apart. That spring is all rusty, so. Let me go see what I have in my parts bin and see if we have something that'll work here. All right, so I found one of these things. And of course it's the wrong size. Awesome. Okay, it's a couple days later and picked up a new trimmer head. This one's kind of weird because it's an 8mm shaft and that's not terribly common anymore as it seems. So decided to just order the OEM part and avoid any potential complications. So this is what it looks like. Let's see if I can find one. Leave a link in the description. So it should be left-hand thread, so spinning it counterclockwise. Lefty-tighty in this case. And then we'll use our pin. We will lock the shaft in place and give it another turn to snug it up. That should do it. I think I called that earlier that grommet on the fuel tank was kind of loose fitting as well, causing a small fuel leak. So I think we'll swap that out. Do have that part as well. So let's see if we can figure this out. They're normally pretty simple to replace. A good tug with a screwdriver usually does it. Yep, she's coming out. There we go. So here's the old and the new. Pull off the fuel filter. We'll slide this bad boy off. It's actually still reasonably pliable, but just worn. So I am going to have to reinsert these in here. So I'm going to just relief cut that at a 45 like I did earlier. Okay, got everything reassembled. Now it's just a matter of putting everything back together. This part can be a little tricky. Usually have to just work it into the tank. Being careful not to break the new one. We can pull a little more line through here. There we go. New one is in. So what I was doing, in case you couldn't see, I was pushing back here with my finger and then just working it around the edge with this little small flat blade screwdriver. So let's tilt it to the side and see if we still leak gas. Let it sit like that for a moment while I clean up. It's been a couple minutes. The workbench is dry, so that solved our fuel leak. Let's get this bad boy put back together. And we'll give it a quick test with the new trimmer head on. Make sure everything works as it should. Okay, here goes nothing. Let's give it a couple pumps. Let her warm up for a minute. All right, you saw it here, from trash to treasure. We got this Kawasaki trimmer at the curb. Really, the only significant money we had to put into it was that trimmer head. That was about 35 bucks or so. Arguably, I probably shouldn't have touched the one that was there, but couldn't really sell a trimmer that couldn't trim. So anyway, maybe 10 bucks into the carb, 5 bucks for that grommet, and 35 bucks for that trimmer head. I might get 100 bucks for this thing or so. We'll see. Anyway, if you found this video helpful, please subscribe, stay safe, and thanks for watching, everybody. Take care.